My name is Qesser Zuhrah. This is my prison suit, and I wear this today to remind myself and remind us all that our prisoners, we are one body. This is the same suit that Palestinian prisoners wear, and there is a huge body of prisoners yet to liberate. I was 19 when I was kidnapped from my home in the middle of the night by counter-terrorism police in a very violent raid. I was awake finishing 2 university assignments that were due that day, but I never got to submit them. I was detained for 4 days incommunicado and then banished to the prison HMP Bronzefield that I would only walk out of 15 months later, now at age 21, still untried in court, still not convicted of a single crime. This is what the state has done. We are the consequence, the collateral damage of its immoral allegiance to the Israeli state. It stopped a life from carrying on. And this is what it perpetuates in Palestine. I am not the only student who didn't get to go back to uni, but millions in Gaza face this and a worse fate. The purpose of oppression is to humiliate, to force people into lives that are utterly inhumane through the complete theft of their dignity, and hopefully to break their spirits and their hopes. This is the purpose of the Zionist occupation of Palestine. This is the purpose of the now regional genocide. This is the purpose of the imprisonment and unspeakable torture of Palestinians in Zionist jails. And this was the purpose of our imprisonment: to try and strangle our commitment to the Palestinian cause out of us. The dignity of the human being is in their freedom, their autonomy, and their principles. We were forced into cells that had no space for our principles, for our struggle larger than life itself. For the entirety of my imprisonment, I was subject to a calculated regime of isolation, blocked from making any friends, especially other young people and Muslims. One Muslim woman I met was locked into the laundry room with a guard who told her that there are dangerous people here and that she needs to be moved away from me. It was an induction landing with mostly everyone on remand, innocent until proven guilty. I was subject to multiple periods of prolonged confinement and isolation in my cell without reason. I remember telling a friend during one of these periods that I was starting to feel like a ghost of myself because I could barely smile anymore. In the 8th month of my imprisonment, I found out in my cell that my little brother, Salam Mahmoud, had been arrested in connection to the same action and would now be condemned to the same fate as me. This British government had now stolen 2 children from their disabled mother, instead of listening to its citizens and stop arming and abetting a genocide. To be unable to protect my little brother, which is the unspoken promise of a big sister, was an assault on my dignity as their big sister. They kept up this assault in every visit with my 13 and 14-year-old little brothers. In one visit, my little brother sat slouched in the chair too big for him, and a guard came up to him, bent down to his ear and whispered to him, "If you don't sit properly, we'll ban you from visiting your sister," to a 13-year-old boy in his first visit with his big sister in prison. One day, after 2 prisoners had died in the prison in a week, I begged the guards to unlock a severely claustrophobic and suicidal prisoner. They responded by assaulting me. 2 male guards grabbed my arms, exposed my body, dragged me through the landing and up a metal staircase and threw me into my cell against a metal bed frame. After locking me in, the same guard, SPCO Balraj Dillon, said to all the prisoners who had just witnessed that, "If any of you try to be heroes, this is what we'll do to you." They wanted to make an example out of me just like this government does. I hated having to pick up the phone to tell my loved ones what happened because I would start crying. And I hated that the prison could listen to that. But what could I do? I was hurt. The second time they assaulted me, even more violently using military tactics, was for crying. That's all. The guards made sure I never forgot the threat of violence. They talked to me only by shouting, boots running, sleeves rolling, and body cams turning on. The constant threat became so intense that I remember feeling like I was caught in the crossfire and nowhere was safe. And all I wanted to do was collapse and hide, and then I thought about Gaza and how the crossfire wasn't a threat, but very real missiles, very real death all the time. and I wondered how they survived the unsafety of it all. But if they didn't give up, how could we? Our prisons mistreated us in the most elaborate ways in order to teach us prisoners that our bodies don't belong to us. They are under the command of locks and keys. But our hunger strike faced them with the fact that their entire structure of ownership and control was a farce, because they could not even get a single morsel of food into my mouth for 48 days. I watched their tantrums as they saw their power evaporate. They accused me of eating and then tried to tempt me with food secretly. And then when nothing worked, they resorted to the most cruel of tactics. For the first 20 days of my hunger strike, they denied me electrolytes completely. And then on day 42, after I had collapsed the day before, they suddenly decreased my electrolyte dose and then gave me none. They orchestrated my rapid deterioration. Instead of killing me, they wanted to push me to the point of death to scare me into stopping. They wanted to make it clear that they would go this far. And so, on the 45th and 46th days of my hunger strike, they left me paralyzed from muscle wastage on my cell floor for 22 hours and refused to call an ambulance. Now they left my cell door open during lockup time, knowing it meant nothing because I was confined in my own body. The guards took turns staring at me, watching and waiting for either my soul to leave my body or my dignity to collapse and for me to end my hunger strike. They shoved my arms and legs to take vitals and then refused to tell me the readings, keeping me in the dark to my own state. They left me to die on my cell floor, or at least let me believe that they would. This was one of the scariest and hardest moments of my life, and I tried to hold onto my dignity in the face of their humiliation. I did not break, and with the help of Allah and public pressure, I was finally hospitalized. They do not see us as human. The humiliation was unending. As I laid in my hospital bed, my 20-year-old body recovering from 48 days of starvation, a guard I was chained to rubbed her thighs and said, "I miss using force." To that, her male colleague replied, Anushka misses using force." He then turned to me, chained and hooked to an IV drip and said, "Qesser, act up so Anushka can use force." But this is why resistance to injustice itself is the victory. Because it declares, in the face of all the humiliation and subjugation, that we will not forsake our cause, nor our principles or our self-determination. We declared this with our hunger strike. We learnt this lesson directly from our beloved Palestinian people living under occupation, subjugation, confinement and torture, who teach us that the dignity of the human being isn't in the body that the oppressors assault, but is in the spirit that we will never let them reach. We resist because we have to. We cannot remain subjugated, repressed and suffocated. And thanks to Allah, we won back more than just our dignity. We won our freedom. And here we stand today, steadfast, as custodians of this most just Palestinian cause, with a bond forged through struggle and sacrifice. While we have all recited today incomplete testimonies of our pain, we do not count our losses, because whatever we have endured pales in comparison to our beloved people in Palestine and now in Lebanon and Iran, as the UK, USA and the Zionist state wage a regional genocide. All that we have sacrificed in the way of justice, we would, with utmost conviction, give it up many times over, fida muqawim, for the resistance. Because if you kill one innocent soul, it is as if you have killed all of humanity. But if you save one innocent soul, it is as if you have saved all of humanity.